Good morning. Today, we turn our attention to a story that's making waves across the Atlantic and stirring debate in capitals on both sides of the ocean. Today, we examine a growing rift between the United States and Denmark, as diplomatic tensions rise over an unexpected issue. President Donald Trump, back in the White House for a new term, has reignited his campaign for the U.S. to acquire Greenland, a move that has surprised many observers. In a January 2026 interview, he declared, "We do need Greenland, absolutely, we need it for defense." His words echoed around the world, reigniting a debate that many thought had faded. This isn't the first time he's floated the idea, but now, his words carry new urgency and have sparked alarm in Europe, where leaders are watching closely and expressing concern. The president's renewed focus on Greenland is not just talk, he's taken action, appointing Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as a special envoy for Greenland affairs, signaling a more aggressive approach. This move, seen as provocative by both Danish and Greenlandic officials, signals the U.S. is serious about its ambitions and willing to challenge the status quo. The issue has become a major point of international debate, with the U.S. framing Greenland as essential to its security and global strategy, especially given the Arctic's growing geopolitical importance. For Denmark and Greenland, these statements are more than headlines. They're a direct challenge to their sovereignty and a test of their political resolve. The U.S. insistence has created a tense atmosphere, forcing Denmark to publicly push back against its powerful ally and defend its interests on the world stage. The world is watching as a friendly relationship is tested by a controversial territorial ambition, with global leaders weighing in and analysts debating the possible outcomes. The question now, how far will the U.S. go, and how will Denmark respond to this renewed pressure? The answers could reshape alliances and the future of the Arctic. The stage is set for a diplomatic showdown, with the world's eyes fixed on what happens next. Denmark's response was swift and unequivocal, leaving no room for doubt about its position on the matter. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen called President Trump's proposal absurd and demanded an immediate end to threats and speculation about Greenland's status. She reminded the world that the Danish kingdom, comprising Denmark, the Faroe Islands, and Greenland, cannot be annexed, purchased, or sold like a commodity. Greenland is not for sale, she declared, firmly defending the rights of Greenlanders to decide their own future and shape their destiny. Frederiksen emphasized that this is about people, culture, and self-determination, not a real estate deal or a simple transaction between governments. The Danish government views the U.S. approach as a fundamental misunderstanding of modern international relations and the principles of sovereignty. This public rejection has opened a deep divide between the two allies, who usually cooperate closely on Arctic security, climate, and trade. Denmark now finds itself in the rare position of having to defend its territory and people from an unwanted offer by its most powerful partner, the United States. The Prime Minister's firm stance is a clear message. Denmark's sovereignty and the rights of its citizens are not up for negotiation or debate. The dispute has become a test of respect between nations, challenging the boundaries of diplomacy and mutual understanding. For Denmark, the answer is final. Greenland's future is not for sale, and its people will determine their own path forward. The world is watching to see if the U.S. will respect that line, as the story continues to unfold on the global stage. The stakes for national pride and international law have never been higher, and the outcome will resonate far beyond the Arctic. Tensions escalated dramatically after a daring U.S. military raid unfolded in Caracas, Venezuela, where American special forces captured the former Venezuelan leader, Nicolás Maduro, in a swift and highly publicized operation. The boldness of this action sent shockwaves across the globe, dominating headlines and sparking urgent discussions in capitals from Europe to Asia. In Denmark, the news was met with particular alarm. Danish officials began to worry that if the U.S. could act so forcefully abroad, it might be willing to use similar tactics much closer to home, especially in regions of strategic interest. The timing of the raid, just as the debate over Greenland was heating up, made the threat feel more immediate and tangible for Danish leaders and citizens alike. The operation in Venezuela quickly became a symbol of a newly assertive and aggressive American foreign policy, one that seemed willing to use force to achieve its goals. For Denmark, President Trump's recent statements about purchasing Greenland now sounded less like a far-fetched business proposal and more like a demand, one that could be backed by real military power. Prime Minister Fredriksson's strong and unwavering language was a direct response to this new climate of intimidation and uncertainty. The conversation about Greenland shifted almost overnight, from a strange diplomatic idea to a pressing and serious security concern for the entire nation. Denmark now had to consider not just its sovereignty in principle, but the very real possibility of facing coercion or pressure from a powerful ally. The stakes for Denmark had suddenly become much higher, with every decision carrying new weight and consequence. In this tense new reality, Denmark's resolve to defend its territory and its people was now stronger and more determined than ever before. Greenland's leaders have made their position clear. Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen called the renewed American interest disrespectful, insisting Greenland is not a bargaining chip. He reminded the world that Greenland is a self-governing nation with its own parliament and government. Our country is not for sale, and our future is not determined by social media posts, he declared. Greenland's right to self-determination is protected by international law. The people of Greenland, about 57,000 strong, have long sought greater independence, not a transfer to another power. Polls show overwhelming opposition to becoming a U.S. territory. Greenlanders want to build their own future, not have it decided in Washington or Copenhagen. Their message: treat us with dignity and respect. Greenland's voice is central in this international dispute. The situation worsened after a viral social media post. Katie Miller, a former Trump official, posted an image of Greenland painted in the American flag colors with the word "soon." The post, coming just after the Venezuela raid, was seen as a direct threat and sparked outrage in Denmark and Greenland. Denmark's ambassador to the U.S., Jesper Møller Sørensen, responded firmly, demanding respect for Denmark's territorial integrity. The post quickly escalated the dispute from political debate to public confrontation. It showed how social media can inflame international tensions and damage alliances. The Danish government could not ignore such a provocative message. Ambassador Sørensen tried to steer the conversation back to cooperation, but the damage was done. The viral image turned a diplomatic disagreement into an emotional standoff. Trust between the allies was shaken. The world saw how quickly online provocations can deepen real-world divides. The Greenland issue was now a global flashpoint. The stakes had become personal and public. Why does the U.S. want Greenland? Its location is strategic, between North America and Europe in the heart of the Arctic. The U.S. already operates Thule Air Base there, a key part of its missile defense system. As Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes and competition for control are emerging. Russia and China are expanding their presence, making Greenland even more valuable for U.S. security. Beneath the ice, Greenland holds vast resources: oil, gas, and rare earth minerals critical for modern technology. The U.S. wants to reduce its dependence on China for these minerals. Controlling Greenland would give America a major economic and strategic edge. For policymakers, it's not just about land, it's about securing the future. The Arctic is the new frontier of global power. Greenland is at the center of this competition. That's why the stakes are so high. Greenland is more than ice. It's a nation with its own people, culture, and government. As an autonomous territory within Denmark, Greenland controls most domestic affairs. Its people, primarily of Inuit heritage, have a unique identity and a strong desire for self-rule. Since 1979, Greenland has steadily gained more independence, culminating in the 2009 Self-Government Act. The only major areas still under Danish control are foreign policy and defense. Most Greenlanders dream of full independence, not a transfer to the U.S. The idea of being sold is seen as a return to colonialism. Polls show almost no support for joining the U.S. Greenlanders want to shape their own destiny. The American proposal is viewed as deeply offensive and out of touch. Denmark is taking action to defend its sovereignty and Greenland's future. The government has publicly and forcefully rejected the U.S. proposal, citing international law. Denmark reminds the U.S. that true allies cooperate, especially in the Arctic. As a NATO member, Denmark argues that security comes from partnership, not pressure. Beyond words, Denmark is boosting its military presence in the Arctic, investing billions and purchasing new F-35 fighter jets. These moves show Denmark is serious about defending its territory. The message: Denmark is a capable steward of the Arctic and expects its sovereignty to be respected. This is not about preparing for conflict, but about demonstrating responsibility and strength. Denmark wants cooperation, not confrontation. The world is watching how the US responds to this show of resolve. As of January 4, 2026, the standoff continues. The US insists Greenland is vital for its security, appointing a special envoy and using aggressive rhetoric. Denmark and Greenland stand united in opposition, defending their sovereignty and self-determination. The dispute has strained a long-standing alliance and raised questions about the limits of power in international relations. Should a superpower pressure an ally to give up territory? What is the value of international law and self-determination? The answers will shape the future of global diplomacy. For now, neither side has backed down. The hope is that respect and diplomacy will prevail. The world is watching, and so are the people of Greenland, determined to control their own destiny. The outcome will echo far beyond the Arctic.